Welcome to the Gavel. I'm Linda Akibi. The 9th Assembly is in its final days, and in a matter of weeks, the 10th Assembly will be inaugurated. In preparation for the 10th Assembly, the management of the National Assembly and the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies have organized an induction program for senators and House of Representatives members-elect. Now, this program is expected to equip lawmakers, particularly first-timers, on the rudiments of legislative work. This is extremely important, as more than 70% of federal legislators coming into the 10th Assembly are first-time lawmakers. The National Assembly kicked off its induction program for incoming senators and representatives-elect for the 10th Assembly. During the program, these senators and House of Representatives members-elect will be taking part in intense training sessions on the business of the legislature. The induction program put together by the National Assembly and the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies is necessary to bridge the legislative knowledge gap for the incoming lawmakers, as over 70% of them are first-time legislators.
Minutes of National Planning.
The National Assembly leadership and NILS organized a dinner for the lawmakers-elect. The President of the Senate gave an account of how the 9th Assembly performed in the interest of the country. He says a total of 104 bills were forwarded to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent.
There's no doubt that this has proven to be beneficial to the people we represent. And of course, compared to previous assemblies, the achievement of the 9th National Assembly in the area of lawmaking is attributable to harmonious executive-legislature relations, which, contrary to many expectations, need not be aggressive and hostile. I commend the distinguished senators and honored members of the 9th National Assembly and the executive arm of government for the valuable partnership that has yielded improved service delivery to our citizens. The 9th Senate has performed exceedingly well in terms of the number and quality of the bills introduced, passed, and assented to. As of July 2022, a total of 874 bills were introduced in the Senate, out of which 162 were passed. Remarkably, 104 bills of the 9th Senate have been passed and assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari, making this significantly higher than those of previous assemblies, which recorded 31 for the 4th Assembly, 98 for the 5th Assembly, 52 for the 6th Assembly, 60 for the 7th Assembly, and 74 for the 8th Assembly. And that tells you a message that when the two arms of government come together, working together, partnering and synergizing to ensure that services are provided for citizens, government delivers services better, more efficient, and more effective.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives is mindful of what he terms the incorrect label placed on the 9th Assembly as being subservient to the executive.
Now, this 9th Assembly has often been, unfortunately, criticized and labeled a rubber stamp assembly. I shudder sometimes when I hear it. Sometimes I laugh. Sometimes I just wonder whether people really do follow proceedings of the National Assembly. I stand to be corrected that as the Speaker of the 9th House of Representatives, many would wonder, and many have asked, that are you the Speaker of an opposition party? Why? Because if you look at the records of the 9th House of Representatives, if you go through the motions of the 9th House of Representatives, which we debate on a daily, I believe 70 to 80% of those motions are motions that people would consider anti-government or anti-government policies. Were you to have a rubber stamp house or speaker, these motions would never see the light of day on the floor. let alone be passed. So I want people to do their research. Being rubber stamp has become suddenly a romantic language to use to describe the Ninth House of Representatives. I have said earlier in my presentation or in my speech that you are elected not to come head to head or conflict with the executive, but to complement the executive for the greater good of the people that we represent.
The Director General urges the legislators-elect to get acquainted with legislative proceedings.
I encourage you all, therefore, members-elect, to take full advantage of the experienced faculty and resource person provided at this induction to prepare themselves for the task ahead.
The leadership contest for the positions of principal officers of the incoming 10th Assembly has intensified, and tensions surrounding the contest heightened, with the ruling party APC announcing the names of its preferred candidates for the positions. This announcement was not received well by some lawmakers-elect who are also contesting for the same positions.
The first action these lawmakers will execute after taking their oath of office will be to elect the principal officers of the Senate and House of Representatives. Already, this momentous decision, which will shape the running of the federal legislature, is being hotly debated across the country, with lawmakers and various interest groups weighing in on which person should lead the assembly and from which region.
I think this is a decision that the APC, the ruling government, should make. But it will be very precarious for them if they don't make that decision quickly, because if they make that decision so late, people would have firm up in their decision to support any of the candidates.
It's been touted and stated that the deputy speakership position will come to the southeast. If that is the truth, then being the only woman in the race for speakership of the House of Representatives and having toured and canvassed members for this support, it will only be ideal that I be considered and given a right of first refusal.
We are only awaiting the final decision of the National Working Committee of our great party, which I believe will come out very soon. And when that comes out, then we'll know what position is going to which region and what position is going to the other.
On the part of the legislature, they are the ones who are going to cast the vote. So if the party has taken a decision, this is the direction we want to go, it is important that the members of the legislature are invited to have a buy-in in that proposal of the party. It should not be, they should not be, underestimated. So everybody should come on board, and that is the work of the party. They have a work to do now, especially now. It appears they are taking a position. We need to bring in more people on board.
I think the dividing line clearly is whether we want an independent National Assembly or we want an assembly that's controlled by the presidency. For me, that is the dividing line.
Allows the legislature to do their own to rules of provision of the Constitution, vis-a-vis allows the executive to do their own. I think when we respect the Constitution, when we respect the tenet of democracy, we'll get it right.
But on Monday, May the 8th, the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Mr. Felix Morka, released a press statement indicating that the party's National Working Committee had announced the zoning of the leadership of the 10th Assembly. The party zoned the position of Senate President to the South-South, specifically choosing Senator Godswill Akpabio from Akwa Ibom State. The Deputy Senate President was zoned to the Northwest, to Senator Barao Jibrin from Kano State. In the House of Representatives, the position of the Speaker was zoned to the Northwest, to Mr. Tajuddin Abbas from Kaduna State, while the office of Deputy Speaker was zoned to the Southeast, to Mr. Benjamin Kalu from Abia State. The announcement of the zoning of positions has angered some APC federal lawmakers. Aggrieved aspirants to the office of the President of the Senate openly informed the party's National Working Committee of their intention to disobey the zoning arrangement that nominated Senator Godswill Akpabio as the preferred candidate for the position of Senate President. The aggrieved senators insist that it is undemocratic and unconstitutional to microzone the position of the Senate President to an individual.
We are not satisfied with the arrangement. And what we're expecting from you people is to give us a fair play. At least, if nothing, to mention that particular item is zoned, and anybody in that particular zone can participate. Or, if you want to do justice and fairness as a party, to look at where do you have opportunities and where do you have your own people. Your own people is going to be tough, is in this area. And I have no apology to anyone. Your own people as a party who decide to maintain you as a party is from this where we came from. Justice needs to be done. We all know the tabulation. We know what it is. And we shouldn't be blind. The power of anyone is not absolute. It's only power of God that is absolute. If you say the power, there be no throne that is permanent, but God's throne is only that is permanent. Take your pen and write it. Anything on the contrary, wallahi, the Northern Nigeria will take another decision against APC, and that will be bad.
What you have done does not look very nice by putting people's name, personally people's name. It's undemocratic. It's against the constitutional right of 3 or 4 sitting down here. Section 51 of the Constitution do not say this for the National Assembly. So we are going to challenge it. We are going to say no.
As we are going, I had expected that the party will look at those who are very few. Just, I think, 4 of us or 5 of us declared interest. And I thought, in the wisdom of the party, they will invite just those 5 of us.
The national chairman, who received the protest letter of the aggrieved senators, assures them that the issue will be revisited.
We are happy to receive you, to come and express your displeasure for what the world was giving. Take us what we have done. There are mistakes that need to be looked at. We will look at them. I will not be ashamed of doing so. And I'm sure the president-elect and other members of that committee that sat will not be ashamed of looking at them again. The important thing is the spirit of party must be kept alive the best we can. We've just come out of election. The whole country is looking towards us. We're just counting down to inauguration on the 29th of this month. Let us not allow anything to divert our attention. You know, our eyes must stay on the ball. This we'll try to do. But in doing so, we must make sure justice is done. Justice is done. We will ensure the best we can as human beings that we do deliver justice to all and sundry.
Outside the meeting room, the senator representing Niger East insists that the party must correct the injustice done to the North Central.
What is due to North Central should be given to North Central. We are all legislators. We are the ones that are going to the floor of the Senate to canvass support for anybody. And we have made our points very clear that if the president, in his wisdom, decides to support the balancing of the secularity of this country, we in the North Central, we agree to it. And what next? We should be giving our own dues. That's all we're asking.
As the aggrieved senators await the outcome of their protest, the leadership of the party is optimistic that the issue of zoning of principal officers of the National Assembly will be resolved amicably.
You're welcome back to the Gavel. Now let's take a look at some major happenings in the National Assembly during the week.
President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the Senate to request approval to borrow the sum of $800 million American dollars from the World Bank. The president says this is to enable the federal government make available palliatives like the conditional cash transfer of money to over 10 million poor Nigerians to cushion the effect of the proposed removal of petroleum subsidy.
Request for approval for additional financing of the National Social Safety Net Program scale-up by the National Assembly. It is with pleasure that I forward the above subject to you. Please note that the Federal Executive Council, FEC, approved an additional loan facility to the tune of USD 800 million to be secured from the World Bank for the National Social Safety Net Program, and the need to request for your consideration and approval to ensure early implementation. Copy of FEC extract attached. The Senate may wish to note that the program is intended to expand coverage of shock responsive safety net support among the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. This will assist them in coping with the costs of meeting basic needs. You may wish to note that the federal government of Nigeria, under the conditional cash transfer window of the program, will transfer the sum of 5,000 naira per month to 10.2 million poor and low-income households for a period of 6 months, with a multiplier effect on about 60 million individuals.
The Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, for failing to submit its budget estimates for 2021 and 2022 to the National Assembly. This followed the presentation of a report by the chairman of the Committee on Niger Delta, Senator Amos Kilowangs. Senators, however, called the move unconstitutional and insisted an investigation be carried out to ascertain why the Commission was just bringing its past budgets for approval. The committee has 1 week to investigate the matter and report back to the Senate.
We set up a committee, ad hoc committee, to investigate what happened in terms of expenditures, illegal expenditures done for 2021, 2022, and even 2023. Who approved the funds? How much? What projects? Technically, we don't even have budgets for 2021 and 2022. Technically, we don't have. But that, in fact, is the main reason why we should even investigate it. And the idea of investigation is to look at what happened, how can we prevent recurrence in the future. This is one institution that is supposed to be run perfectly because it's an intervention to salvage situations of people who are in distress. So if that is the view of the Senate, we can set up another committee because we are supposed to correct this anomaly one way or the other. It shouldn't continue.
The House Committee on Privatization has waded into a privatization issue between the Bureau of Public Enterprises and the Niger Company Limited. Niger is worried by the continued monitoring of the BPE despite full privatization many years ago. BPE, Niger and Polaris Bank were immersed in post-privatization crisis over pre-privatization liabilities that were allegedly not disclosed before the actual privatization.
We have hosted them repeatedly. We have invited them to every ceremony in which we commissioned major projects for the government. They are there. They are listed as even attendees to every single event that we have. They have come in and sent us documents in which we have to fill out our financial, operational, and technical achievements. And at every 5-year point, they have sent it to us. We have responded, and we have records of this. We have also, even in the last 2 years, to say that we have denied any entry is absolutely unacceptable and defamatory on my company.
BPE had claimed ignorance of the existing liabilities by legacy company Niger, which led to a legal tussle between the duo and currently before the appeal court.
I absorb you. You can't pass on what you don't do. And logically, since he didn't know of it, he didn't tell them. And since he didn't tell them, should they be made to pay for what they didn't know and what they didn't buy?
Sir, every transaction takes place with the parties knowing fully what information is at their disposal and making decisions based on information at their disposal.
So you are saying the same thing. So they made decisions to buy based on what you told them. based on what they know from what you told them.
Based on what we told them and based on their own due diligence.
Is this loan pre-privatization loan or post-privatization loan? Because if it is a pre-privatization loan, it is the responsibility of BP to fully disclose it. And it is incumbent upon BP to also know whether it is a pre-privatization loan. And if it's a post-privatization loan, GEC or the core investor will be the one to take responsibility for it.
After hours of bantering back and forth and raised voices, the committee reached a resolution.
The committee, after listening all the stakeholders, we have come to a resolution, which I will read it over. First, that the subcommittee of the committee is constituted to address the issues of 30% claim of Nabimo and the judgment of Polaris Bank against NigerDoc by engaging with the parties with a view to resolving the issues mutually, amicably, and report back to the committee within 7 working days. 2, that NigerDoc is to immediately write BPE requesting for reimbursement of 341 tax liabilities and litigation costs and copy chairman NCP and the committee. 3, that BPE and NigerDoc should work together to recover all missing title documents. All missing title documents. 4, NigerDoc should write to BPE on the delisting issue, and BPE should begin the process of delisting NigerDoc immediately. Thank you.
Now, this is where we call it a day on this week's edition of The Gavel. If you have any views on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us, and see you again next week.